Guys, for all the listeners out there, I really do taste this good.
Is it a problem if I start drilling too?
Where does the name Chanpan come from?
The name Chanpan comes from our names put together because me and Matthew, our Chinese name is Chan, and Grace's like a Chen name is
Apan, Pan.
So the Chan plus Pan is literally us.
What was your biggest takeaway from busking in Chinatown, and what did you learn about connecting with audiences?
Biggest takeaway from busking? It was such a like character building kind of development thing because when you're out there, nobody really cares. Everyone has their own thing. They're going about their own day. They're thinking about what they're going to have for dinner. They're thinking about like where they're going next, and everyone walks very fast in New York. You know, if you haven't been, that's a thing. So it's kind of I feel like an attitude of trying to do everything you can to really sell it and convince people that don't know who you are that this is good, and to make them stop and look at you and stay for a song. So I feel like over time, as we've gone to play different stages and bigger stages and different audiences, I still think back to that busking mentality. When you're an opener on tour, nobody knows who you are. And you kind of just got to really sell it. And the goal is by the end of the night, now they know who you are. Now they want to, you know. So I think going through that really helped us like get into this thing that got to where we are now.
How do you balance having 3 creatives in one band and in the creation production process?
I think that we all feel really comfortable taking on a certain role and filling in gaps where maybe one day one of us is falling short on like energy or like creativity. We can step up. So Matthew has his instrument, like main instrument, guitar, and says drums, and I sing, but in the songwriting process, we kind of all do everything, and it's a lot of give and take. So it's just kind of staying in constant communication and kind of communicating what you need or what you would like. And we've spent enough time with each other to kind of like read each other. Like yesterday we were filming a music video and we were like, okay, someone needs to take a baseball bat to paint a glass. And it's like, okay, who's going to do it? And you have to kind of speak up and be like, oh, I want to do it. Or just be like, hey, you should do it, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. Just taking into account, like, screen time, like, how much power and, like, input that we have in, like, making a song and everything. It's just, like, a give and take and a transfer of powers. Knowing that, we're always trying to find a good balance.
Is there any instrument or genre you haven't explored yet that you'd like to?
I like folk music.
Cool.
I like
love.
Yeah, it's like weird that I'm making any music with electronic elements because I just never thought of that for myself, but here we are. Yeah, going like more organic with the instruments.
Okay.
Something I'm really excited to explore is the piano. We all grew up on piano, and I don't know, it's like kind of like the first like musical language I learned to speak. So it's kind of funny, most of our music in the early days has 0 piano. Like when we produce music and when I'm on my laptop, I'm still using like a keyboard, like a piano keyboard to do drums and melodies and all that kind of stuff. So I feel like I'm excited to explore more piano.
I want to learn how to DJ. I would love. Would people like Chanpan and then parentheses DJ set? I think artists do that.
Yeah.
I want to learn how to like pretend to turn the knob, but I'm not, and I'm just touching it. And then they always do like the.
Have you ever like used the pads?
No, like a deck, like the with the things on it.
We've not even come close to starting DJ. Someone tried to teach me once, so I get like beat matching.
Okay, yeah.
That's
just
right?
BPM.
But no, but we're gonna be nerds about it. We're gonna have to be like, what key is it in?
I already know how. You act like the knob is 300 degrees and you pretend like you touch it, like, but you don't actually twist the knob. It's all
yeah.
it's
You
theater.
actually never touch the deck.
No.
You just it already comes mixed.
Yeah.
Are there any music rules that you intentionally ignore?
Yeah, totally. I feel like I don't know. Sorry.
You gotta look really sad though.
Early on, people were interested in us because the first song we put out was kind of experimental and catches you off guard and goes in a lot of different places. And then at some point it was like, oh, you're supposed to write a song like this and that, and this is like what will help you be successful. But I find that so interesting because it's like people like music that like catches them off guard because it's different.
Yeah.
So I feel like we try to always be experimental. But that's a good question. Are there individual rules that we try and break?
I took piano, violin, guitar lessons and all that stuff, but I just didn't care. So I had all the information when I was learning and did enough to like get to the recital and get this little trophy. And then as soon as like, I don't know, anything else opened up, like I did theater and I just forgot all of that. So really I have no music rules mean nothing to me.
Right.
And I'm just like, do.
Do you have a favorite?
Oh, piano.
Okay.
Because I can play it.
Okay. The other
Guitar
just
and
like.
violin. I have a sweat condition in my hands called hyperhidrosis. So whenever I was playing string instruments, it would be
I know what you mean.
bad
I know what you
time.
mean. I know what you mean.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
didn't understand that this wasn't supposed to happen. So all my strings would like disintegrate.
But it's really good for like, in my case, just like playing guitar when you want to like slide down the guitar, comes in handy.
Right.
But occasionally, not all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of if like driving or the law. Like if you don't know what the rules are, you're not technically breaking them. So yeah, as
Fair.
long as it sounds good to me, I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have
Are
a.
you saying that driving laws are made to be broken? Is that?
If you don't know them, you can't break them.
That's right. Yeah,
I know what
it's
you're
like
saying.
officer. I didn't know.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they're like, oh, okay, you're chill. Like,
Yeah.
You're chill.
Okay.
And
Go
then hit
home.
one of these things. Right?
I'll just hit the.
How fast were you going?
I don't know.
9 miles an hour. Chill, bro.
Yeah.
yeah.
What's an underrated Chanpan song?
Ooh wee wee.
Okay.
We love that song. It was like our second song we ever put out. Ooh wee wee.
Do you keep playing it?
Yeah, we open our shows with it.
Amazing. Okay. Well,
Not Guffball though. We're gonna change it up, but
are you gonna play it at Couple?
no.
Oh.
We love that song though, because it has no music rules. We're just
Okay.
doing anything.
Okay. Are there any artists you take inspiration from, or any moments where you don't want to sound like that?
Oh, that's a good question.
I take like performance inspiration from a lot of artists. I love Lady Gaga. You know, everyone loves Lady Gaga. I love Bruno Mars. I love all like the old like glam rock people, like Billy Idol's energy. Like I sent pictures of Billy Idol to them. I was like, fashion hair, like this, like you gotta crank that. Yeah, like I love Pink Panthers now. I like her whole like worldview and outlook on music and like creativity and getting better. And I take a lot of performance inspiration from like new metal guys too, like Jonathan Davis from Korn and like that whole thrashiness. And Fred Durst, like he had his own little swag going on.
When I first got to New York and started like making stuff on the computer, I was also really inspired by Pink Panthers, and I love her music and all of her visuals and everything. And I guess I appreciate the sensibility of like kind of making your own sound and like being pretty open about your inspirations, but putting a lot of your maybe nerdy inspirations into it. And I feel like we do that a lot. I didn't think I'd be using my voice at all, but on this new record and a lot of our songs you guys hear, I'm like singing on stage now, and I feel like I hated the sound of my voice for so long, but at some point I was like, I can treat it like an instrument and maybe make it more sound interesting texturally and not trying to sound like so technically perfect and beautiful, because I don't think I'm so good at that. But then I like realized so much of the music I like and the songs I like Radiohead and old like Gorillaz music and all this stuff, they're just twisting and contorting their like you would call more masculine voices into interesting textures. And I was like, oh, I used to do an impression of like Julian Casablancas like vocal growl when I was a kid. I was like, it's actually very fun, and that's music too. I don't know why I thought I had to sound so technically good my whole life, but I feel like I broke through that. I'm really happy to be using my voice a lot. Very inspired by like Herbie Hancock and all those jazz artists who lived through different eras, like Miles Davis to like bebop and swing before that, and then into fusion and into like rock era. That is just like pure genius to be able to like weave through all that. So I feel like if you hear some like jazz stuff, like upright bass and whatever, we love jazz. So a lot of that comes from that world.
How do you make space for yourselves in a city as competitive as New York?
There is no competition. There's no competition. I like hate the idea of art being a competition, because that implies that's like hand in hand with like industry, which I am just kind of like against generally. Like we're in an industry, there's industries that exist, but there shouldn't be, and we should really just make art just for self-expression and like fun.
I agree. I think I never think too much about competition or who I'm against, and I'm like, none of this would have happened if we just tried doing everything ourselves. We've only gotten so far because we've worked with each other, and also with every like audience member was just a friend in the early days, like 20 people. It was just all our close friends and stuff. And Chanpan wouldn't be here without any of that. So yeah, I think is the thing that has brought us this far. I don't know. It's hard to imagine, I guess, who we would be in competition with. And I think we're never really trying to fit into a scene or come up in a scene or belong even, or just it's just us, you know. And it's a little easier that way. Yeah.
I think you have to be yourself, and I think that's also what we did, and we are always trying to be ourselves. I mean, if you're a self-interested artist like everyone else and you want to stand out, it's like if you look to other people for models of success or to whatever, like you will inevitably end up blending in if you're trying to copy someone else.
Yeah.
But to be yourself, you have to understand yourself. So you have to ask yourself those questions and also think about what you stand for. So I feel like you have to know yourself and you have to stand for something. I think you have to have a heart and you have to have a backbone. And those are the kind of people that human beings gravitate towards. So whether it's in like art, you know, if you embody those qualities and like hopefully are in a cooperative spirit with your peers and the rest of the people of the world, then I think you'll do pretty good.
This is a question that's more directed towards Grace, but I obviously want to know your guys' answers. Do you feel like your gender identity plays a role in the music you make, in terms of avoiding feminine or masculine roles and making lyrics gender neutral and more accessible to everyone?
That's a very great question that I wish I could talk about more. Gender identity is always like at the forefront of my mind, just because I feel like I move about this world and like existence in this body in like a constant state of discomfort that I can't quite put my finger on. Sometimes it's like encountering someone and seeing in their eyes and like the way they treat me, and I'm like, oh, like they see me as this version of myself that I don't quite feel attached to. And part of performing and writing music has been like seeing Grace like this person, like performer, and I dress hyper femme on stage and like have little flirty little body movements, and that's like just naturally part of the character that comes from performing our music. I write from like my heart, and yeah, I do take into account like pronouns and gender in the music. I'm glad that's like coming across and like something that pops up and people notice. I'm still finding balance with that and trying to preserve myself, because Grace as an individual, like person, not like as a performer trying to put on a show, trying to give people their money's worth at a concert. I am non-binary and very comfortable in that. Yeah, sometimes you're like taking label meetings and meeting people in the music industry, and you realize that they don't see you as much as they see the package that could make them money one day. And that kind of treats like, they hit me with the, hey girl, and it's like, you did not do any research, like you have
I will
no
kill
idea.
you.
No, literally, it's like,
Yeah.
I get hit with that all the time, even with like people that I see like and have known for years. So it's a part of like, I'm trying to keep myself accountable and be like, how can I stand up for myself, but also I'm exhausted of doing that.
Yeah, of course.
And I'd rather just exist. But if my music can kind of carry that and have that conversation for me, then it feels kind of good, like to just have that live on its own and do the talking for me, and I can just focus on like, how will I feed myself today, and
Other things.
be happy. Yeah, be happy.
Yeah.
Instead of thinking about like, am I a boy or a girl, or what am I like?
Yeah.
What do you think I am? Like, what do I look like to you?
Thank you for asking. It's a really good question. And I think like Chanpan as a band, if it doesn't come across, like all three of us are queer in some kind of way, with like our sexuality or gender or both, like myself included. But it's also just like who we are, like all these things, like our race, where we come from, our backgrounds, being a band from New York, being like immigrants or children of immigrants and refugees ourselves, all kind of like mixed together in this super like recipe that makes us who we are. And I feel like I like the word queer, and I think about that because it's like, where does that actually come from? And historically, it was like a very specific political and community meaning, because like even by definition, you know, it traditionally meant strange or out of place. You know, it's a kind of very anti-assimilationist sentiment to that, and like where people were like proud to claim that. And we talk about so many things as a band, and so many things that in this insane and beautiful and complicated artist journey and life journey that we're on together. And one thing I think about that we've been talking about lately is like, it's kind of, you know, not to say that we are this, but it's like the job of a revolutionary in some ways to exist ahead of your time in society. Where like Grace was saying earlier, it's like by definition, maybe most of the country or the world simply do not understand, right? And they haven't had someone to explain to them, or they don't understand. Or maybe like they have like prejudice against something, you know, and it really takes inner discipline and strength and people around you to remind yourself of like, okay, I see this, but you're also another person. And it's like, how do I kind of bear this burden, but still live my life in a way to bring everyone forward with me, so that maybe when we're 110 years old or something, like everyone and their kids gets it, you know? But this is, you are just misunderstood a little bit.
For anyone that doesn't know Chanpan, what's one song that you would recommend?
I really like Buzzin'. It's a good one. The studio version.
Okay.
I feel like it has a lot of like stuff. I love playing it live. It just gets you going.
How was the Colors performance?
Oh, it was
for
awesome.
You guys?
It was crazy. It says in parentheses, Buzzin' first take. And that's because literally it was the very first take that we played. We just got in there and then we played it. And it felt like the best one. So I don't know if other artists do that too. And it was so kind of like last minute in the best way. The opportunity just came across. And they're like, oh, there's this date. Does it work? Can we do this? So we're all like, let's do it. And the song literally was in a demo format. So we went and played kind of like a demo version of it. And that's like the raw, actual, real thing that people got to see in the world.
Do you guys get to choose the color, or is that already chosen?
They choose it for you, but I don't know if I'm allowed to say this. They actually paint the whole, it's the wall on stage. It's not like green screened in, and it's not like a green background.
Yeah, a lot of people think it's just like this big and then they fill it up,
And I didn't know till I got there and they put a paintbrush and a bucket in my hand. They said, get your ass to work. I was like, I have to paint this? And yeah, so I was just so out of steam. That's why only our first take was a good one.
Yeah.
And the floor it's on, if you ever have like a jawbreaker, you know those, the candy, you break it in half and it's like the different colors. It's like that because you can see all the different past colors.
It tasted like a jawbreaker too.
Do you have any interest in Latin America, in there, working with any artists, or just exploring some genres? I know that Bruno Mars' new album has a lot of like Mexican things going on. Yeah, I want to know how you feel about that.
Queremos viajar a México, a la Ciudad de México. It's a dream, lifelong dream to visit Latin America. And I even studied like Latin American history in college. I had a little concentration in it. And it's so fascinating and such a beautiful culture, and like so, you know, so many different cultures, I should say. And so much of it has like influenced like music that we make now, which is crazy to think about, like bossa nova, all that kind of thing.
We are Asian. I know we look Asian, but I feel like Latin American culture is inevitably part of who at least Matthew and I are, because we grew up in the restaurants in Missouri, and we grew up around so many immigrants from all over, not just like Thailand and Vietnam, but also El Salvador, Ecuador, Honduras, Mexico City. Like, I feel like you just cannot get the music that we make and what we stand for and what we're about without that kind of childhood and background.
I love Mexico. I went to Mexico City at the beginning of last year. It's awesome. I love the energy there. The energy, like in the world geographically too, really reminds me of my part of Southeast Asia that I'm from, because we're all, if I think about like Peru, like we're all mountain people. Their clothes and culture, like kind of setup, reflects like my traditional clothes and culture, because like we're kind of pulling from the same resources.
Where are you from?
I'm Kachin from Myanmar. I'm in the mountain range at the top of Myanmar. We have the tallest mountain in Southeast Asia in my country. So
Shout out.
So being in Mexico and like being around like Hispanic culture and like Latino culture, I was just like, oh, this is very familiar to me for some reason. So I think we're all just the same. being non-gender conforming is actually like so OG primitive in indigenous communities, and it's actually because of colonialism and like white supremacy and like all this bad stuff that really has us in a bad situation in society. Like what's more natural than just like exist as yourself? And the word queer being like strange or something. I'm normal.
There's actually in Mexico, there's this culture, which I can't say specifically which one because I don't remember, but it's very normal, specifically for the men during celebrations, to dress up as women, and it's actually like very celebrated, and it's just like a thing they do, you know? It's not like, oh my God, now we're all gonna, I don't get it.
Low key, same. Like I grew up in like my community, my Kachin community at church and stuff. Dudes would be cross-dressing and doing fashion shows, like, and that was just like something that we did for fun, like. And no one really thought too much about it and was like homophobic about it or like transphobic about it. It was more just like, oh, it's beautiful. But then like with like the introduction of Christianity and like that frame of mind, it's like we'll be at a church event and they'll be cross-dressing and we're like, ha ha ha. And then afterwards, like go to church and be like, you cannot do that.
That's not so funny.
Right. And I'm like, we just laughed so hard and had so much fun. And he felt beautiful.
Like, like everything was fine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's just so weird, our whole conversation around gender and gender identity. I don't know. I'm kind of like sick of it, but also let's talk about it more.
I think it's a great subject. Is there any point in your careers where you'd like to mix fashion and music?
All of it.
Okay.
I love fashion. And it's not something that I ever like went to school for, like did professionally or just pursued at all. But I like keep up, learn as much as I can. I would love for us to be involved in more fashion things, like playing in a show, making experimental music for like a designer. Like let's score a Margiela's show and like make it spooky.
I think that's awesome. 100%.
Yeah, because we can do anything. And that freedom with fashion is the same kind of freedom we want to embody with our music. And also like I want to design clothes that I would wear. I want a Chanpan thong, like that's attached to like a hoodie. Like let's make something happen. A chong.
That's strong merch.
I love fashion. We love fashion, and it's just so interesting, like trying to live our values and then also run up into so much of the like exclusivity and like gatekeeping and like wealth worship that fashion embodies. Like I remember in 6th grade reading our textbook about American history, and old colonial Americans would put a feather in their hat and do this and that, and it was like, okay, we learned that fashion was a way to signify wealth. I feel like it's just a weird contradiction to be an artist and to very luckily have the chance to get free clothes and to look cool. But also I think the critical thinker and true like understanding of history, people understand there's a lot of working class fashion and design and jeans. And I feel like in these big fashion houses, it's workers who are not paid that much, who are like actually making the garments and sewing them with their hands, or even making the designs and all that kind of stuff.
It goes back into the conversation of creativity versus industry. And industry and all that space around fashion is so rancid now. Like the materials and even colors like being accessible only to people with money. Like I hope we don't embody that space, but rather like go off into the, I don't know, more sustainable in all terms route.
What part does your heritage play in your creative process?
I grew up around in Missouri with Matthew, my twin brother, and our touch point to Asian culture was only through our family. I didn't have an Asian friend outside of our family until we went to college. I'm not from California where like pockets like Chinese people have only Chinese friends, and it's like very monoracial. I feel like my childhood and my life has been the opposite of that, so hopefully that comes through the art.
I think my heritage comes through really clearly in the themes that I write about like being anti-war, which is so tied to like my ethnic identity, while also being like known for being a warrior tribe because we've always had to fight. Our connection, like my connection with nature, is also really tied to my ethnic identity, and that is a theme that comes up in a lot of our songs, especially that first EP. So it comes up like that, and then little elements like jewelry that I'll wear or like clothing that we'll wear on stage, some designs like that ties me back to my culture. And they wear like traditional Chinese clothing too for like a lot of shoots and stuff. So it's around. It's always around. Maybe we're not like talking about it spot on, but real recognize real. Like people will recognize it if it's around.
What's one question that no one has asked you yet that you would like them to ask you?
You were the first to ask the one about gender. I really like that, but I'm sure there's actually answered.
No one ever asked, Chanpan, how do we retire you early? I would like someone to ask us that question.
How can we give you so much money?
Yeah, jokes aside, this morning I was just like, you know what would be nice if someone asked, hey Matthew, like, do you want $30,000, no strings attached? And it's like, they never asked, how are you doing, how are you feeling?
With strings.
Right.
30.
30.
No one asks, Chanpan, are you okay? Because sometimes we're not. I fantasize about the moment when someone might ask me, are you free on this Friday night for 7 p.m. dinner, drinks? I have a reservation. Maybe one day.
Yeah.
Maybe one day it'll happen.
It'll come.
This is a great interview. I felt relaxed. Thank you for that gender question.
Of
That's
course.
actually
What do you mean?
crucial.
It's my favorite subject ever.